Hello. So what I'm planning to do for this video is to explain to you how to add further pages to our book project. We actually need some prelim pages, and I've just got the flat plan up here within my InDesign pasteboard just to explain to you what we actually need. As you can see, the first page that we need in the book is half title. Then we have, usually in a book, we have a blank page there, or possibly a frontispiece with an image on it. That's what that means. Then the title page. Then comes the copyright, the imprint page you need to put in there, the ISBN, the publisher name, date, and so forth. And then comes the table of contents. After the table of contents, we usually would then start the actual text itself. So what you're seeing on the screen here is The Life of Shakespeare. This is the introduction to our book. And that is going to appear, as you can see, on page 1. And we've already got that. So let me just get rid of this. And now we go through this process, and I will point out a few things to you along the way. Okay, to begin with then, we need to add some pages. So I'm using my Pages panel at the moment. I've got that rather enlarged, so it's a bit easier for you to see. I'm right-clicking over that. I'm then inserting pages, and I'm going to put in 6 pages before that page. Okay, there you are. You see we've now got some blank pages. Now the first page is what we call the half title. Now again, traditionally, most books you'll find they simply have the title of the book. So all you need to do is to put the title. So I'm just going to put a text box down here and type in my title. Put that here, and then I don't particularly need a style for it, but I'm just going to use something like the basic paragraph, and then what I'll do is I'll just change it to be centered, and maybe just increase the size. So that will be this. That will be the actual style that I'm using. It will actually make an override, but we don't need to worry about that at the moment. You can really do what you want with this, but you don't need anything other than the title. You don't need to put anything else in here. Let me just do one more thing, which is to remove the first line indent like that. So that's all we need. Now, just to give you the heads up on why we have this, is that traditionally, where you've actually got a printing studio workshop, you're going to have the book blocks completed. They might be completed and bound or glued, and then the cover comes along and is added later. So when what you're going to see are like crates or boxes of book blocks ready to be attached to their cover. This is an indication of what that is for, and it's just okay. Just let's match up we're going to match up the cover with the half title, or with the book block showing us the half title. Okay, so that's that page. Then when we come down to here, what we need to add in here is a frontispiece, or this would actually on the left hand of our spread is going to normally be, well, most books will have blank. You might not have blank, but in our case we're going to add a picture, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So we place an image, and now what we're going to find when we place the image is we're going to find one of the images that's been provided for us. So I'm just going to get that from here. So this is where I've got my images, and I'm going to put in this portrait of Shakespeare, and I want that to appear around about here somewhere. I just want to size it so it fills that space there. And then what we can do is to add the caption. We should really put a caption in here. What actually is that? Well, some of the images, it's a good idea. This is actually good publishing practice. If you have somebody working on the image library for your books, it's a good idea if they add the metadata into the images so that you can then use them later in your publication, so you can use the captions from that metadata. Now there is an automatic way of getting the caption to appear from that metadata, but for the moment this isn't the place for me to explore that, but I want to just show you the metadata and how that is provided. We can look at the metadata for this image, and we can look at that when we go to the links panel. You can see down here, if we now look at the XMP file info, is what I was looking for. You can see that you've actually got that here. So this is the metadata for that image already right there. I mean, you can look at it in something like Photoshop and get it from there, but you've also got it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that text and copy it, and then I'm going to use it in a text box, which I'm just going to put down here. And then I'm going to paste that into there. Now actually we do already have a caption style in this particular template that we've been using, and there it is. So that's our caption, and I'm just going to make sure that I haven't for some reason got that bold. Yes, let's turn that off. So you can do it like that. As I say, it's just a matter of extracting that information from the metadata of the image. I'll just remind you how we do that again, so because I was struggling to find it myself at that point. So select the image, go to the links panel, which is over here, and then this little drop down menu here, you then go to the utilities and XMP file info, and you'll find there that you've got all of the metadata, if there is metadata for the images. The images that I'm providing for you actually in this particular project do actually have the metadata in them, but that's something that you can extract from there. Okay, now just one other thing I wanted to point out since we're going along here. So the other thing is that, again, you don't have to do this, but I've got this idea that maybe what I want to do is to put that into a circular or oval shape, and I just want to explain to you how you would do that. So we have over here an ellipse frame tool. So I'm going to select that. Now, as you probably know, if I press the Shift key down, this gives you a circle, but without the Shift key, you can just distort it or make it into any oval shape that you like that. And then to put this image inside a shape like that, we select the image and we can copy it, although in this case I'm going to cut it so that we don't have two copies. So I'm cutting it out, selecting the object, and then I'm going to edit, and this is very important, paste into is what you need. And so there you are. As you can see, now what we need to do is to move that around inside the oval shape until we're happy with it. We can still resize it like this, but again, Shift and Command will allow you to actually make sure that you're not distorting the image. So we can do it like that. Now, this is not something that you have to do, obviously, but I just thought, since I'm interested in doing it, I just thought I'd explain to you how that actually works. Now, the next thing is that we actually need to create on this page over here, currently what is saying is page 3. I'm going to come on to page numbers in a moment, but this needs to be created as our title page. The title page is very important, actually. Now, it is possible for you just simply to create this. You need the title of the book, you need the author name, obviously in this case William Shakespeare, and we also need the publisher name, possibly the publisher logo as well. That needs to go on this page. Now, you can just create it by using text boxes and bring in the image from the logo and all of that. But actually, one of the things that you can do, and it's quite often, you see this quite often, that the title page is a sort of a echo of what was on the cover. Not fully, because we're not able to put a full color image here or have background images or anything like that. We just simply want the basic text. So what we can do, and I'm just going to go into my work project, my project work, and go into where I'm working and pick up my cover. Just want to get my cover, and I think it's this one here. And this cover here, I just want the text, the basic text from it. So I've got that as a group actually. So I'm just selecting that. So I'm copying it and then going back to here, and then I'm going to paste that. Now obviously right now that text, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, wrong way. That text of course is not working at the moment because it's all white. Most of it is white, so what I need to do is to change the color of that. So I'm just going into here and applying the color to the text. So I want that to be black. Like this. Yeah, I can't do it for the whole group. I have to do it for each individual one. And I'm just simply going to make it all black. Because I've got a group, it's a little bit difficult to select it all, but I should be able to do that. So let's just take that black, and then we've just got the one more at the bottom here, which is, again, needs to be black. Oh, sorry. Must make sure that we select the frame. Sorry, the text, not the frame. And then, of course, I need just to separate it out a little bit because I've got overlapping things here, which isn't going to work. Anyway, we've got time to organise that. And then, of course, we also need the name of the author, which is in this case something that, again, I can copy from here and make use of that right here. We can maybe just adjust it. I'm going to come back to this, but essentially what we're doing here is to create the title page out of some elements that are currently being used on the cover. So that's our title page. Now the next page is our copyright page over here on the left hand side. Well, again, you can just simply write this in wherever you think it needs to be, but I do make a suggestion to you, and that is that you can use a website that actually has some examples of copyright text on imprint pages. And if we just use Google to search for it, sample copyright text. It's actually the book designer, and we can just simply take a little bit of this text. There are some very long ones which you don't want, but this short one will surely do. Just copy this text here, and then create a text box on this side here, and paste that in. Now again, you may want to actually create a style for this. I am just going to, for the moment, I'm just going to use paragraph text like this, but I will want to change the way. I not only want to change the text, because you obviously got to put in your own publisher name, date, and so on, publisher address, etc., etc. But you do want to also change the style. Usually it's quite small. This text is usually quite small. It doesn't have to be very big. We definitely want to turn off the boldness of it. And then you can, as I say, you can create a new style for it. I think I've already got one here, copyright text, which I've made that into a sans serif font. Now, one thing to watch out for when you do copy this text from that website, what you're actually going to notice is that you've got hard breaks at the end of every line, so you will need to remove those. You can't, the text should really flow and wrap naturally at the end of the line, and then of course remove all of these blank spaces, and then of course absolutely edit this text to be how you want it to be. You can position it, and once again have a look at the books in your shelves and see what others are doing, and see how you want to present that text. Okay, so now comes quite a significant part here, which is to do with the table of contents. However, before we do the table of contents, because obviously the table of contents will have page numbers, one of the things I want to point out to you is is to do with the page numbering. Now, if we again look at our pages panel here, the first thing is to say is that we don't display page numbers on some of these pages. So if we go, for example, to the half title, which is the very first page, we definitely do not want to include the page number. And I should just say that there are two ways that we can remove the page number, or indeed the header at the top. Currently there is a box for the header, but obviously because we've got no running header information, that's not actually displaying it at all. But if we want to make this page not use the master page items on the main master pages, what we can do is to use the none master page, which is over here, and we can just simply drag that little icon that represents the no master page, really, or master page that's none, if you like, drag that onto that page there, and then it will remove any of the master page items. Now again, normally we don't have any of these items on the on this frontispiece page either, so you can do exactly the same thing here, and similarly the same thing on this page. So that is one way that you can do it. Now, and in fact in this particular case, that's the way that I'm going to do it generally. However, while I'm here, I do want to explain to you what the other way is, where you want to remove individual master page items. And the way that you do that, because as you can see we can't select anything, we can't select the page number on the copyright page, but what we can do is to bring it from the master page onto the page that we see. And the way that we do that is with the use of the shift key and the command key together. On the PC it's the shift key and the control key, I believe, yeah. And we just click over the item, and as you can see it brings it onto the page. Then we delete it. Same with the page number, brings it there, and we can delete it. Now this isn't fully destructive, because if you want to bring that back, you can very easily just drag that master page back onto that page, and that will then apply those master page items. Anyway, so that's number one. That's displaying the page numbers. Now the other thing is, again, look at what you've got in your shelves, because the other issue is what are we counting here? Because at the moment, if we look at this page here, which is our first page where we want to actually start reading in the book, we've got page 7. And again, that might be the case in some books that you've got in your shelves. Some publishers actually just count right from the beginning half title, and so when you get to this page here, it's going to say, you know, something like that, page 7. But what we want to do is we want that to say page 1. And the reason I'm doing this, covering this now, is because obviously this is all going to go into the table of contents. So in order to make this into page 1, what we have to do is to start a new section on this page, and the way that we do that, the way I'm going to do it anyway, is to right click with my mouse over that page, and then down here you'll see numbering and section options, and what we want to do, we want to start the section, and that's what we want to do, but we want to start the page numbering at page 1. And when I do this, you'll see that we will get a warning. Naturally enough, it's warning us that we've already got a page 1. We've already got a section starting on page 1. What are we going to do? Well, we can just ignore that for the moment, and it doesn't really matter. So you can probably see down here we've got page 1 appearing again, but there's something else that we could point out. And again, you've got some choices here. You don't have to do what I'm going to do, but what you can do, if we go to the very first page, which of course is a start of a section, and the reason that we know that is if you see this little downwards triangle, that actually means that there's a section starting here. And again, if we right click over that and then go to our numbering and section options, you'll see here of course, we're starting on page 1, but what we can do is to choose a different style. And typically, styling for prelim page numbering is usually using lowercase Roman. Lowercase Roman is the sort of normal. Okay, and so what we actually have here, as you can see, if I go to this page here, you can see that it's very difficult for you to see, I guess. Let me just zoom right in. You can see that we've now got a small Roman there. So yeah, by all means, use that, except that, as I say, in my case, I'm not going to display those anyway. So this is a blank page at the moment. So you know, and that's where my table of contents is going to go. So don't worry too much about whether you're using Roman numerals for those pages if you're not going to display the numbers on the page. However, you might want to, you might actually want to, you know, to make the whole of this section using lowercase Roman, and when we get to the play, then that would be in normal numbering, Arabic numbering. So you've got some decisions to make here. I'm just giving you the explanation about how you achieve it. This page here on the left hand side should not have any, if this is going to be blank, and again I'm presuming that we're starting the life of Shakespeare over here on the right hand side of a spread, so that's where it starts. Opposite to that, if that's going to be blank, and this again is a very important rule, never have headers or footers or headers or page numbers on blank pages. So that should be blank. So that's why I'm going to drag that onto there. I did the wrong one, but nevertheless I'm going to do it again. Okay, so there we are, that's blank. Right, so what we're talking about now is the table of contents, which starts over here. The table of contents basically is created dynamically by choosing the styles where you want those table of contents labels to appear. So I'm just going to go into the book itself again just to remind you. So when we have a table of contents, what we're expecting our table of contents to do is to help us navigate through the text. So if I want to look up where the section on Stratford starts, then I expect to see that in the table of contents. Similarly, our knowledge of Shakespeare, or birth and parentage, or education. In this particular book, we only have that level of heading, apart from, of course, the top level heading, which is this one. So we want those things to appear in the table of contents. So how do we go about that? Well, we do it through the layout menu. Just going to zoom out a little bit. Right, so I'm going to put it on that page. We go to the layout menu, table of contents. Now, before I begin, just make sure that you have more options switched on. You see how by default you may find that it looks like this, whereas you need it to look like this. So hit more options to make sure you get all these other features. The main explanation I need to make is in this box over here, you see the styles used in the document currently. Over here is blank. We're basically wanting to choose the styles, the paragraph styles that we want to use to generate the labels. And so what I'm going to do is to start with header 1 and add that. Once I've added that in, then I need to tell it what style to use to display it on the page. And the style that I'm going to use is actually there already, TOC heading 1. Okay, now you'll see that it's going to display the page numbers. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll come back to that in a moment. But that's the first one, and that's at level 1. Now what we need to do is to add header 2. Okay, and by default, automatically that goes to level 2. So in other words, it's inside this main heading. And we also then want to decide what style to deliver it in. Select that, TOC heading 2. So in other words, this TOC heading 2 is the way it's going to display, which of course we can change. We will change it, I've no doubt. Okay, so that basically is the beginnings of it. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to first of all decide how you want the label at the top of this page. And again, normally it just says contents. That's the default. Don't change that because that would be sort of unstandard. And how do we want that to display? We're choosing a style for that. And I'm going to choose header 2. So in other words, that level of heading. And what we now need to do is to save it before we hit OK, just simply so that we can come back to it very easily. And I'm going to give it the name of Shakespeare, like that. Give it whatever name you like, it's not important. Okay, so now that is on my cursor, I can just drop that down into the corner of that text box. Okay, so you can see now here we've got the basics of it. What we now need to do is to change the styles of these various elements. So let's first of all start by having a look at this style, which is the TOC heading 1. That style there, if we just double click it, you'll see that it's actually quite large at the moment. So we basically can make changes to it. But what I'm going to do before we do that, I'm going to use a sort of technique where we can base one style on another. So let's look at this level, which is TOC heading 2, and see that that is based on TOC heading 1. So in other words, if I make changes to TOC heading 1, that will then, the TOC heading 2 will inherit some of those changes. Not all of them, because it will be a different size. Okay, so let's actually go back to TOC heading 1 and then make some changes to it. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to point out to you actually, by default with this template that we've got already, what we're actually doing is we're getting numbers at the end of the line, separated obviously with these dots, which I'll come on to in a minute, but this is using right justify. So it's justifying it, but aligning it to the right. So in other words, so it stretches everything out to go across the text box. And then I'm going to change the size of it. Okay, let's go for, well, let's say we'll go for that level, we'll go for 11 point, and I can reduce the leading, so we can leave that in that style there. That'll be fine. And then this one here, TOC heading 2, we're going to go into our styles again, and this one I'm going to reduce down even further. So I'll make that even smaller, and then also, well, actually the spacing is not bad, so I'm probably going to leave that as it is. But what I do want to do is to reduce that indent. So you'll see that it's got a left indent. Let's move that over a little bit. The left indent is far too much, like that. And then also, well, there's lots of other things that we can do, but I just want to leave it at that for the moment. We just want to maybe with this one here, the TOC heading 1, I think we do need to do something about getting it down a little bit after, so that we actually separate it out. You'll notice that it is actually affecting all of the styles now, because one is that's all of these things are going to be inherited by the other one. So I'm putting space before so that we get the contents and then some space for our first level heading, and then I'm going to reduce this down here so that we actually get less space after it. Then I'm going to go back to this style, which of course needs to now have this space before removed to something more like that, I guess. Something like that. It doesn't really matter too much, because we do have extra work to do on our table of contents when we add the play, so this will be of course extended. It might even go over to 2 pages, but eventually. But for the moment we're just getting some knowledge about how that actually works. You'll notice that I've also got colour working here, but once again we don't need to worry too much about that. Now, one thing I would point out though is that the page numbers, they look all right, except that I think what's wrong, if I just turn off my structure, the problem is that the page number for the for the first one is much bigger than the others, and I think we really ought to resolve that. Now, the way that we can do that, we need to go back to our table of contents, and you'll see down here, if we start with header 1, you'll see down here that we've actually got the ability to add a style for the page number. And so what we can do is, where it says page number after entry, of course, what style do we want that? Well, we can create a new style for it, a new character style for it, and we'll actually just call it contents page numbers. And I'm going to now change it to a particular size. So I'm going to change it to, say, 6 point, like that. And we can even change it to change its color like that. Okay, and we've now successfully updated it. I think the reason that we've got that problem is it actually looks like, yeah, I think I need to go back to that actually. Because what's going on here is that we did actually use that style, but yes, of course we've now, what's actually happened is we've lost that because we didn't save it. So here's the thing: try to remember, not like me because I went wrong there. Try to remember to save your style whenever you make changes to it. Save your table of contents, because I forgot to do that. So I'm going to go back here now, go to this style, and I'm going to use that style there, like that, and I'm also going to, at the same time, going to do the same for header 2 and change the style to content page numbers. And I'm also going to do while I'm about it is I'm going to change the dots so that they actually use this smaller font, this smaller size. And the way that I'm going to do that is in this, between entry and number, the tabs will of course be using the content page number style, and that's what I'm going to do for that. And I'm also going to do the same for this, like this. Now I'm going to save this style. Yeah, that's better. It should be regular, not bold. Okay, so that's sorted that out. So you can see, let's actually just turn off the construction so you can actually see. So we've now got page numbers that are the same size, and also these dots that line up are also using the same size. So that makes it a little bit more comfortable to look at. So we don't want different sizes for the page numbers. Okay, so basically we've now resolved all of this, and we can now move on and make changes to the various styles and so forth. But we've now got our table of contents, and we've also got our prelim pages.